The next speaker that was referenced earlier by the center director is the historian here at Dryden. It is Christian Gelzer, excuse me, yeah. Let me introduce Christian Gelzer. Thank you.
This is the world's first jet-powered aircraft, and you can see the date on it. It predates the beginning of World War II by just a little over a week. This is a jet-powered aircraft. It's a German aircraft, and the remarkable thing about this aircraft, even though you can't tell it from the picture, is the fact that its wings, this is striking research, its wings, which you cannot see in the picture, were capable of changing their angle of incidence. That is to say, engineering term, you can take the wings and you can move them from straight on like this. You can sweep them. Park the airplane, engineers come out and they can change the angle of incidence. Right now, there are very few airplanes that have pivoting wings. The B-1 bomber is one. We parked virtually every other US airplane that could do that. The F-14 used to be able to do that. The G-1 Tornado in the European arsenal does that. There aren't very many other airplanes that can do that in flight. This one, the Germans designed so that you could actually do that on the ground. They understood that there was a problem that you had to explore having to do with high-speed flight, and it had to do with the sweep of the wing. And the turbojet was the source of power that was going to get you into the realm of flight, that was going to get you the answers to the questions you had. This is the US version. This is an XP-59A. If you have a chance on your way out, do not deviate from the road lest the Air Force security forces come and get you. As a colleague of mine over on the museum on the Air Force says, they have had their sense of humor surgically removed, and I would not tempt them. So be careful on your way out. Don't speed and follow the rules, but there is an XP-59A. It is the oldest airplane on base, just slightly older than the X-1 we have parked out front. But you can stop and look at this airplane. Sitting out opposite Building 1, there's a horseshoe of flagpoles surrounding it. It's got two General Electric jet engines buried in here, carefully wrapped so you can't see it. This is taken out here on this lake bed. This is where they were test flying this airplane. This was the country's first jet. You'll notice that it has a propeller on it. That was to fool people. Secret squirrel business. You need to make sure nobody knew what you were doing. Anyway, this is what they were trying to explore, was the jet-powered airplane. This is a World War II fighter airplane in terms of plan form, straight wing, fuselage with jet engines. So, why are we here and why do we have this airplane? Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry, I forgot I wrote that. Why are we here and why do we have this crazy orange airplane over there and that there? The answer is simply this. Before the war was over, the NACA, which is the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, which is NASA's predecessor agency, and the Army Air Forces realized that somebody was going to go supersonic, and it was imperative to figure out, well, you wanted to get to supersonic before the Soviets did, but it was imperative to answer questions about supersonic flight. So why not use a jet engine? After all, I've been talking about jet engines for the last, I don't know, 5-10 minutes now. The reason is jet engines sucked fuel like you had an oil well attached to the airplane. 2, they were unreliable. 3, they were prone to breaking down, blowing up, or shedding parts. So they were entirely unsuitable for the job. And 4, they didn't have the oomph to get you where you wanted to go. Eventually, sure, they would do the job, but they were not capable of doing the job now. Well, now as in, 45, 44. No, you were not going to get the answers you wanted when you wanted them if you were going to rely on a jet engine. And you could not wait, not if you were the Army Air Forces. So you needed something else, and the Army, which was footing the bill, wanted a rocket plane. So they paid for the rocket plane. And this is what they got. They wanted to know one simple question. And I'm making it simple. I'm boiling it down to as simple as you can. Can you fly faster than the speed of sound and come home and have a beer? Because to that point, no one had been able to do both. It's as simple as that. People had been able to get close, and all they did was die. And that was that question. Originally painted orange, they thought, ooh, day-glow orange, it's going to show up in the sky. Disappeared. Gone. They realized, nah, that's not going to work. We can paint it white now. We can see it. So they did. Hence, the white. What you see is a Schlern photograph. It's a particular kind of photograph that takes pictures of things you and I can't see with the naked eye, but what it shows you is critical. This is the shock wave. This is what was killing people. This is what killing people, not because it was making them dead, so to speak, but it was this is what was making the airplanes uncontrollable. Jim's sitting in the back of the room because he's taken Schlern photographs before. He knows what's going on, and Jim's bored as all get out. But you've got a shock wave. Shock wave is simply the matter of taking sound and compressing it because you're going so fast that the waves cannot get out of the way. Just like that. You're compressing things so they can't get out of the way. They get so tight, they're stuck, you got a shock wave. So you're compressing things, compressing things, compressing things, compressing things, and then they expand again. This is a compression, this is a series of shock waves around a T-38. What you're looking at is a picture of a T-38 going Mach 1.1. This is the problem confronting anyone that was getting close to supersonic. Now, the weird thing is that you can get supersonic shock waves over an airplane that's not going supersonic. Because there are portions of the airplane over which airflow will go supersonic, even though the airplane itself is not going supersonic. I'm just screwing with your head, but it's true. Sorry about that. Life's tough. So the engineers, what's the next picture? So you get your picture of the X-1, it goes supersonic, and you can see the film trace. Because back then, today, right, telemetry, electronics, you stick your little instruments on the airplane, you go fly, and it's all data that gets sent electronically to a little room with no windows, and a little computer figures it all out, and it sends the data to a guy looking at a computer screen, and he goes, oh wow, exciting, neat. Not back then. Back then, they had rolls of film. You're looking at a picture of a roll of film, and the airplane would carry multiple rolls of film. No joke. Big, I should have brought a roll of film. Big rolls of film like this. They would carry three or four rolls of film on the airplane. And these rolls of film would be exposed to various instruments. And the instruments would record various squiggles, variations of what was going on the airplane. And what you're seeing here is the Mach jump of that famous flight by Chuck Yeager, October 14, 1947, as the airplane actually broke the speed of sound of the X-1. So, they go Mach 1. Now, they're the NACA engineers that came out here from bucolic Green, Virginia. I don't know if any of you come from Virginia or not. The ones who came from Virginia came out here. They really didn't want to come out here. They came out here involuntarily, but they came out here anyway. You know, nice palmetto bugs and rain and cockroaches and mildew and rain. And I taught in Alabama, so I know this stuff. And rain and ocean and grass you have to mow. And they were really looking forward to going back to Virginia. This is really what they were looking forward to. So they were going to go Mach 1, go back to Virginia. And then they got to Mach 1, and then they had an epiphany. Well, two. Two epiphanies. One was sad and one was happy. The sad epiphany was, once they got to Mach 1, they weren't going home. They were staying here in beautiful bucolic muroc. The happy epiphany was why they were staying, and why they were staying was because once they got to Mach 1, they realized, this is 47, right? Once they got to Mach 1, they realized, these are aeronautical engineers, they've been studying aeronautics circa 1903 to the present, they realized that everything they had ever learned about high-speed flight, and I'm not exaggerating, everything they had ever learned about high-speed flight was useless, wasted. They had to start from scratch. They knew nothing. Not about aerodynamics, not about flight controls, not about human physiology, not about propulsion, and not about metallurgy. They knew nothing. Which means they had a whole world of questions to ask and answer. Which is why they ended up staying. Which is why we're still here. So we ask questions, right? Point number 1, X-planes. We're famous for X-planes. You get X-planes like X-29, I don't know what that one is, HIMAT, who knows what that one is, X-1, X all over the place, right? This is not an X-plane, this is a D558-2. You know why? Because the Air Force gets to name X-planes. Not the Navy. This is a Navy airplane. It's an X-plane for all practical purposes, but it's a Navy airplane, so too bad for you. Happens to be the first airplane to go twice the speed of sound, but that is utterly irrelevant to the fact that it was an experimental airplane, and its key contributions, among its key contributions anyway, was the fact that it explored swept wings. The X-1, straight wings, straight wings.